everyone, and welcome to another one of our Lee's Lessons Masterclass. Super excited for you all to join us again. I have to say, I think this is probably around our 20th Masterclass session that we've done with Lee over the years. It's been with him and I for over, I think, around 4 years now. We've been running these. So we've had a bunch that have come out this year, a bunch more to come out in the next couple of months, and then I'm sure we'll keep going as the years go by. But thank you all again for being here. Just wanted to share that we've been doing this for a while. We'll get into introing Lee and giving you a little bit about him in a moment, but I want to just cover some housekeeping items. So we are presenting this on a web-based platform. So if you experience any technical issues with this masterclass, please let us know using the Q&A chat box that we have on the screen for you. We have a team member on our end that's here to assist with any of those issues. A couple of quick tips is just refreshing your window, closing out of some of your other windows, exiting out of this, and re-entering using that link in the reminder email. If you're also, we're also going to be recording this session, so you'll receive a recording within 24 to 48 hours after we conclude today. We will answer questions at the end of our session, so we want to make sure we get through them all, but feel free if you want to submit them as they come up. You can use the Q&A chat or save them for the end in case we cover your question throughout the session. We are going to be sharing some resources, some handouts throughout the session. I'll let you know where and when you can select those and download them. And then we'll also be running some polls that we want to engage with you all during our session as well. So I'll let you know how to engage with those polls when we will pop them up to you, all of the good stuff. Our last housekeeping item is ZoomInfo is a publicly traded company. This presentation may contain forward-looking statements. Any buying decisions you make should be made based only upon currently available products and offerings. This is our complete safe harbor statement here. All righty, so we've got Lee, as you all know. He is a leading sales management strategist and founder of Sales Architects. He is the award-winning best-selling author of 6 business books, including Sales Differentiation and Sell Different, which have been called the 1-2 punch of every salesperson needs to differentiate what and how they sell to win more deals at the prices you want. He has helped hundreds of companies in various industries and sizes create marketplace disruption by leveraging sales differentiation, leading to explosive, profitable growth. And in 2022, Lee was named the 2022 Speaker of the Year by the Institute of Sales Excellence. So in this masterclass today, Lee will share prospecting strategies to reach and engage your elusive prospects. Lee, thank you for being here, and let's get started.
Boy, Rebecca, we've done this almost 20 times already. Wow. Now I feel old.
It's been a really good journey, really good journey.
It has been. It's been wonderful. So we're going to talk prospecting today.
Yes, we are. So when we talk about prospecting, it makes sense to, I would assume, to start off by understanding the competitive landscape. Who is the toughest competitor salespeople face?
Rebecca, we're going to jump in with one of my favorite questions to ask salespeople. Who's your toughest competitor? I asked this question as part of my keynote talks, and guess what? No one ever gets it right. They say, there's 3 players in our space. They're pretty tough. And they're right. They are tough, but there's one even tougher. And someone gets snarky and they go, oh, you mean that old sales trainer one, the status quo, the choice to do nothing. Also a tough competitor, but there's one even tougher. Then the room will go silent for a moment and they try to figure it out. And someone will shout out, me. If I don't have the right mindset, I'm my toughest competitor. Now, it's true. If you don't have the right mindset, you can get in your own way. But there's one even tougher, even more formidable, and I've never had anyone guess who that is. And those of you who have not yet read Sell Different, go in the chat and take a guess. Who is your toughest competitor?
Come on, people. The Q&A chat right below our screen is where you should be able to enter it.
Well, I'm going to let you off the hook. You ready? Here's the big reveal. The toughest competitor you face is, and we need a drum roll for this, it's every salesperson calling on the same person you are trying to get a meeting. See, we're egocentric when we think about the competitive landscape. We only see it from our side of the desk. But let's flip it to the prospect side of the desk. Let's say you're calling on CIOs to sell outsourced help desk services. Well, CIOs have this broad purview of responsibility, so they're getting calls and emails representing their entire spectrum of responsibilities and beyond. They're getting prospecting calls from salespeople selling hardware, software, outsourcing, staffing, and on and on and on. Every one of them is trying to sell that CIO the same thing. What's that? A meeting. Now, I'll give you a business fact that you may not know, so you may want to write this down. In the entire history of business, there's never been an executive hired for the sole purpose, the sole reason of meeting with salespeople every hour on the hour. It's never happened, never going to happen. Not even procurement officers. That's not their core job description. So here's the really bad news. I know you come to my master classes to feel good, but I got to give you some bad news. You aren't competing against a few players in your space. You're competing against hundreds, maybe even thousands of salespeople trying to get a meeting with the same person that you are. It's the competition for FaceTime. No, not the Apple technology. I mean having a meeting with a prospect. Because here's what we all know. If there's no meeting, there's no proposal. If there's no proposal, there's no win. No win means no commission check. So understanding your toughest competitor allows you to develop strategies to defeat it. Knowing the level of competition we face tells us we need to stand out when we reach out. We need to be persistent. We need to be creative in both our messaging and our strategy to reach elusive prospects. And that's how we get that meeting booked. That's how we get it on the calendar. How's that for a start, Rebecca?
That's a great start. Very punchy today. I like it. So the subject of cold calling is a wee bit controversial.
Okay.
What's the current state of affairs in cold calling? Do you do it? Do you don't do it?
Okay, well, we just talked about our toughest competitor and the hundreds, maybe thousands of salespeople calling the same person that we are, and that there's no business executive whose job is to just meet with us. So should we cold call into them? Well, guess what? I don't have to answer that question. My good friends at the Rain Group, a well-respected consultancy, answered that for us. They conducted a study very recently, within the last couple of years, where they asked executives if they had ever taken a meeting with a salesperson who had reached out to them through some sort of traditional prospecting means. So here's my question for all of you. What percentage of executives said, yes, I've taken a meeting with a salesperson that reached out to me through traditional prospecting? So Rebecca, this is a good time for our first poll. What percentage of executives said, yes, I've taken a meeting with a salesperson that reached out through traditional prospecting?
Awesome. Yeah. So audience member is right on the slide window where it was showing Lee's book, Sell Different. It's now showing the poll itself. So feel free to engage with that poll right inside of that window. You please engage with the poll instead of sending us it in the Q&A chat. I know a little confusing, but you should be able to select A through E, and we've got some people doing that now, so that's awesome. So we've got some percentages in there, but yeah, we should give them some time. We've got about 12% of the attendee list is engaging with it. We'll get to 50% and then we'll move on. But thank you for those that are putting it in the Q&A as well. All right, give it another moment. I really, really wish that we could nail the Jeopardy music. We always forget.
I can sing it if you like.
Great, we hit 50%.
My wife doesn't even let me sing in the shower, Rebecca, so I apologize to everyone for that.
No worries, we hit 53%, so we can stop now.
Okay, so what do we get?
All right, let's show everybody. So about, let's see, we got about 43%, which is the majority, say 0 to 10%.
Okay.
And then from there it goes 22%. Then we've got for 10 to 25% of the audience says that. The next level down would be 70 to 100% of the time. And then an even split between 20 to 75% of the time. 26.
All right. We need another drum roll. You ready? The correct answer is 82%. 82% of executives said, yes, I've taken a meeting with a salesperson that reached out through traditional prospecting. But the study didn't stop there. Went a step further. it revealed the key ingredient to getting that meeting. Well, what was that? Personalization. Personalization. What that means is if you're sending generic emails, leaving generic voicemails when you're trying to reach prospects, or when you reach them live, you're having a generic conversation, you are not going to be in that 82% group. So personalization is the key to effective prospecting. It's alive and well. We all need to be doing it, but the key is we've got to personalize that interaction.
Awesome. All right. So you mentioned the importance of personalization. How can salespeople personalize their prospecting approach?
Okay, well, I've got a chapter in sales differentiation dedicated to that. So let me share this with you. Imagine it's 2 a.m. There's a pounding on your front door. It's the police. Rebecca, what did you do? They want to have a conversation with you about a crime that's recently been committed. Now, they don't randomly pick you and your house for this conversation. What do? They follow the trail of evidence, put together a crime theory, which has led them to you for a conversation right now. So can you see where we're heading? A sales crime theory. A sales crime theory. Every buyer, every single one of them, there's a way to get their business. But we play the game blindfolded. It didn't work for us at the 5-year-old kitty birthday party, and it doesn't work for us in sales. So I love to ask groups of salespeople, who loves cold calling? And rarely, if ever, does a hand go up. Well, guess what? There's someone who hates it more than you. You know who that is? It's the person on the other end of the phone who we made to feel like the sales call of the moment. They know that the only reason we're calling is to sell them something they don't want, don't need, so we can get a fat commission check. Well, the sales crime theory changes the entire prospecting approach. And it's founded in the answer to this question. You're going to want to write this down. I was kidding before, but this is a good one to write down. Why should they want to have a conversation with me right now? Not why should we talk with them? That's egocentric. Why should they want to have a conversation with me right now? So we don't pick up the phone. We don't send a prospecting email until we can answer that question. Why should they want to have a conversation with me right now? So our first step is to identify the types of sales crime theory evidence that if we came across it would say, they should want to have a conversation with me right now. So Rebecca, you want an example of how this works?
Please, sorry, my mute button was stuck.
Oh, yes. That's not a good thing. Would you want an example of this?
Yes, please, let's do it.
Okay, well, I'm happy to share one. Well, let's say we sell conference room technology. So we ask ourselves, what types of sales crime theory evidence that if we came across it would say they should want to have a conversation with me right now? So in the case of selling conference room technology, if they have a relocation, expansion, acquisition, maybe a new executive hired, they're probably talking about the technology in their conference rooms. Well, since that's what we offer, they should want to have a conversation with me right now. So let's take a step back. Think about what you're selling. What sales crime theory evidence that if you came across it would say they should want to have a conversation with me right now? So then once you identify the types of sales crime theory evidence that tells you that, the next investigative question to answer is, where can you find this information? Is it on their website, Google, social media? You know another great source? ZoomInfo. They can help you with that information as well. So put your sleuth hat on and be focused on the search for that information. So here's how powerful the sales crime theory strategy is. Let's say you sell technology in a manufacturing environment that reduces operational costs and increases efficiency. And today you come across an interview in the Business Journal with the CEO of ABC Manufacturing, and she's talking about an initiative to reduce operational costs and increase efficiency in their facilities. You now have the sales crime theory evidence to reach out to the head of manufacturing. Why? Because you know that's who's going to be placed with that responsibility. So let me give you 2 scenarios. Salesperson A reaches out to the head of manufacturing and says, well, since you're the head of manufacturing, you're probably looking for ways to reduce operational costs and increase efficiency in your facilities. Well, that's what my company does. Salesperson B reaches out to the head of manufacturing and says, I just read an interview with your CEO talking about an initiative to reduce operational costs and increase efficiency in your facilities. Well, since you're the head of manufacturing, I'm guessing that responsibility is going to be placed on you. We work with manufacturing executives to address those issues. Well, which one got the meeting, A or B? B, right? Well, that was my easy question, Rebecca. But here's the tough one. Who had the better product? Aha! If you didn't believe in the power of the sales crime theory strategy, I can't make it pop any more than this. What would you say if I told you salesperson A had by far the superior solution, but because of how he sold, he never got to the table? How you sell is a difference maker. And that's a true statement for every step of the sales process. And the sales crime theory strategy personalizes the approach. Remember, we talked before about personalization. It personalizes the approach and helps you get in the door. Rebecca, I think I had my caffeine this morning.
I think you did. I told you in the beginning.
This is water, folks.
I told you in the beginning you were very punchy today. I like it.
I am.
So I might ruffle some feathers here, but I'm not in sales for those that know. So and those that don't know, I'm integrated marketing manager. So I am not in sales, but I do hear a lot from my salespeople, and so I want to push back a little bit on you. The sales crime theory approach is great once you reach someone live, but it's pretty tough, from what I hear, to reach people today. What are suggestions do you have, or what suggestions do you have to reach these elusive prospects that we're dealing with these days?
That's a very fair point. We don't think enough about that. See, when it comes to prospecting, we need to have a strategy for both the qualitative side and the quantitative side. So when we talked about the sales crime theory, that gave us a strategy for the qualitative side of prospecting, right? That's going to help us spark interest. But just as important, we need a strategy to reach elusive prospects, which is the quantitative side of the equation. We don't think enough about that. See, sales, and we all know this, it's one of the only jobs on the planet that's not paid for work. We're paid for effectiveness. So saying we made a few calls but didn't reach the individual means we accomplished nothing. Rebecca, let's run another poll.
Alrighty.
How many attempts do you think it takes to reach a prospect live?
Yep,
How many attempts do you think it takes to reach a prospect live?
Awesome. So you should be able to engage with the poll similar to the last one, right inside the slide window. You have options A through E. So we'll give you guys some time to engage with that.
And I'm not going to sing this time. As a matter of fact, when I'm driving around the neighborhood and I got my tunes cranked, I make it just loud enough so I can't hear myself sing.
Perfect.
It works really well.
I'm sure your neighbors love that. You're accommodating them.
Well, they don't hear me, so it's great.
Right. Awesome. All right, we got about 30%. We'll give it another minute or 30 seconds. So.
All right.
But there are some people in the audience that are loving your energy. So
excellent.
That we're on the right track here.
Very good.
All righty, we can kick on to the attendees. Let's see. Yeah. All right. About 40% of the audience engaged. So our top here is about 5 to 8 touches or attempts is the highest, about 43%. 9 to 12 is the next one down with 30%. And then it's like almost an even split between 13 and 16, 1 and 4. Lucky you folks, 1 and 4. That's awesome. And
you know
we do have
means,
some
Rebecca?
that are dealing with 17 to 20.
Rebecca, you know what that means?
What's that?
It's time for another drum roll. Another big reveal. According to Gartner, it takes about 18 attempts to reach a technology buyer. And I can't imagine that data would be any different for any other type of buyer. Notice the word attempts. They didn't say phone calls. They didn't say emails or any other technique. For example, if I took my hand and I tried to pound a nail into my desk and I failed, hitting again with my hand isn't the answer. I need to try other ways, other techniques, and keep trying until it works. Same with your prospecting. You can't just make phone calls. You can't just send emails. So we need to be much more strategic in the quantitative side of outreach. Now, Rebecca, everybody knows this. If you've been to my other masterclasses, you don't leave empty-handed. I put together a 16-day prospecting rhythm that includes a variety of techniques designed to help you reach elusive prospects. So, Rebecca, where can they find that?
They can find that in the resource list. It should be right below our window or the slide window on your screen right now. It should say the 16-day outbound prospecting rhythm. Lee, would you like to show everybody it, or do you want to just?
No, that's okay. If they're downloading it, that's fine. It's just text. It's self-explanatory. But I do want to talk about a couple of things that are going to jump out. So your initial reaction when you look at that, you're going to go, "Holy cow, that's a lot." You know what? I make no apologies for it because it works. See, as executives get busier and busier, when teams get smaller, the work doesn't get reduced. It just gets further dispersed among other executives. It's going to take more creativity. It's going to take more strategic attempts to reach them. I mean, I'll tell you, as far as that prospecting rhythm, I can't even tell you how many salespeople had the same reaction you did, which is, "Oh my goodness, that's a lot of attempts." And then just give it a shot. 100% of them have come back to me and said, "I'm reaching more prospects than I ever have before." Now, the quantitative side isn't necessarily going to give you good news. This is the side that says, I'm going to get some connection with them, whether it be on the phone, whether it be an email. This is going to get some interaction with them. That's the purpose of this side of the equation. The sales crime theory, that's the side for when you're reaching out for the qualitative side of the equation. So they work hand in glove. The sales crime theory is the qualitative side, and the prospecting rhythm is the quantitative side of prospecting.
Awesome. And I just want to also mention for any of you, there are people able to find the download. So it should be on your screen right below our window. But if you're still having difficulties finding it, we will also share it in the email that we send out with the recording. So you will be able to download it there as well. But just wanted to make that note. All right. Well, keeping going. What's your perspective on leaving voice messages with prospects?
Yeah, good. That's a good question. So according to Ringlead, they say over 80% of inbound calls go to voicemail. I don't know about you, but my experience is even higher than 80%, right? We have caller ID. We look at our phone and we don't recognize the caller, not answering it. So when I ask salespeople about voicemails, they're very passionate about this, super passionate. It reminds me of back in the 1980s, the Miller Lite commercial. "Tastes great, less filling." Passionate on both sides of the aisle. Leave a message, don't leave a message. Very, very controversial. So let me ask you all this question. So imagine after this masterclass, you check your phone, you have a voicemail message, and it's from a salesperson who says, "I've got $10,000 for you, call me back." Most people aren't calling that person back. But what if the message from that salesperson said, "I can cut your cell phone bills in half, call me"? Again, most people are going to say, "I'm not calling the person back." Let me give you one more attempt here. It's a message from a salesperson that says, "I can reduce your interest rates by 3%. Let's talk." And again, when I ask this question of audiences, maybe 2 or 3 hands will go up at most. So think about this. I've offered you money. I've offered to reduce your costs, and I still can't get most people to call me back. So what can I possibly say in a voicemail message that's going to get a return call? You know what the answer is, folks? Nothing. Nothing. There is only one way you're getting a return call from a voicemail message. You know what that is? It's if you have serendipity taking place. Well, what does that mean? Well, you happen to leave a message for me about reducing my cell phone costs when I'm looking at my cell phone bill going, "Yeah, I probably need to find another provider." That's the only way it's going to happen. So based on that, you're probably saying, "Lee is anti-voicemail message." Well, before you send that tweet out, let me tell you, you are incorrect. I'm a huge proponent of voicemail as part of prospecting. But I think we need to look at it in a different way. We need to use it in a different fashion. Let's take a return call off the table. It ain't happening. As a matter of fact, you even say that in your message. "I'm not expecting you to call me back." Boy, that's different than the hundreds, maybe thousands of salespeople that are reaching out to them. You stand out. You get their attention. You know, when you say, "I'm not expecting you to call me back," it's a little bit of reverse psychology. Well, maybe I want to call them back, but they still probably won't. That's okay. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use that voicemail message not to get a return call, but to wet their whistle, to spark intrigue, so that when we connect with them live, they have some context for the conversation. So voicemail is such an important part. It's a great component of the quantitative side of your prospecting strategy. But you got to keep it short. You got to get right to the point, and don't waste valuable seconds. I mean, if you time your voicemail message and you start with, I hope you're having a great day. What was that, 4 seconds? I hope you're having a great day. They know you don't care whether or not they're having a great day. You don't know them. They don't know you. So we're wasting all this time. Let's get to the point. Let's get to the purpose. So when you look at that 16-day prospecting rhythm, you're going to notice there are times when you leave a voicemail, times when you don't. And the sales crime theory evidence helps you to craft that voicemail message that's personalized, that sparks intrigue to get the engagement you need, especially when you connect with them live. But I want us to take this a step further. I'm going to share a word with you now that will spark more prospect intrigue than you've ever experienced in your sales career. Now, are you intrigued? This word is tremendously effective in voicemails. It's tremendously effective when you reach them live, in your emails. Get ready for this word again. I'm being serious. You're going to want to write this down. That word is unknowingly. Unknowingly. See, we all want to believe that we're making informed decisions in everything we do. But if someone creates doubt, we want to hear more. We put our learning hat on. Let me give you a few examples of this in action. So you're a salesperson and you say, we found that companies in the manufacturing industry are unknowingly out of compliance. Wait, what? Unknowingly out of compliance? What do you mean? Well, boom, you got a conversation going. Here's another one. We have found that companies in Arizona are unknowingly overpaying for cleaning equipment. Unknowingly overpaying? Tell me more. Boom, you're in the door. Let me give you a third. We found that IT services companies are unknowingly missing out on revenue opportunities. Unknowingly missing out on revenue? What revenue? Boom, you're on your way. Unknowingly is so powerful. It creates curiosity. What do you know that I don't know that I need to know? That's what prospects think when they hear that word. And unknowingly arouses a whole host of emotions. And you know, emotions drive the sale, right? From fear to intrigue to puzzlement. They believe they're naively doing something wrong, and no one wants to feel that way. Your prospects are going to want to feel enlightened. So add that unknowingly prospect engagement strategy to your voicemails, to your emails. Even when you connect with them live, it's a surefire way to spark conversation. But let me give you a little caution. When you do it, you better be ready, because when prospects respond unknowingly, and they will, you better know where you're going to take that conversation from there. I'll tell you what, I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with and added that strategy just around the word unknowingly, and the conversations that they're having, the engagement they're having is so much different than what they've experienced before.
I really like that. I think there's that unknowingly is just, it's wild how just a word can kind of trigger or in the right way, just that conversation or spark a conversation, which is really great. Can you talk about the outlook component of the prospect rhythm?
Sure, but I can't take credit for it. A salesperson who worked for me years ago developed this approach, and you'll see that as part of the 16-day prospecting rhythm. See, the beauty of Outlook is you can send an invite to anyone on the planet, and it automatically appears in their calendar, whether they accept it or not. So let's talk about how to best use this component. So imagine you're leaving a voicemail message, and you let them know when you're going to call back. If you have their email address, you can send an invite for that day and time. Guess what? Now you're in their calendar. Now you're probably sitting there going, that's not always going to work. I agree with you 100%. There is nothing I've shared today or any of my master classes that's going to work 100% of the time. No one can give you that level of wisdom. So if you're looking for that kind of magic, you're always going to be disappointed. What I hope all of you are looking for is opportunity for incremental gains to move that sales needle. I mean, if you reach 5% more prospects using that technique than you did before, isn't that a huge win? Of course it is. So if you take everything we've been talking about today in aggregate, you're going to move that prospecting needle. And when you multiply that out in your prospecting funnel, that's a lot more wins and a lot more commission dollars in your pocket.
Alrighty. Okay. So, of course, the outbound calls and emails are a part of an overall prospecting strategy. Other than outbound efforts, how else can salespeople reach elusive prospects?
Well, look, let's face it, prospecting's tough. Very few salespeople like it, and it's just one component of an overall business development strategy. A very important one, but it's just one in your toolbox. And I find that oftentimes salespeople make sales so much more complicated than it needs to be. So I'm going to share with you a strategy now that I personally guarantee you will help you find more of your best clients. Personally guarantee, boy, that's a dangerous expression, Rebecca. I'm batting 1,000 with this. And if you're not a baseball fan, that means every single client, and plus when I manage sales teams, when I put this in place, every single time, it has been successful. That's how good this strategy is. And the best part is, it won't cost you one penny to put into practice. Everybody ready? I call it the If You Were Me business development strategy. It's a needle mover. So you're going to want to write this down. Here's the first step. You're going to select 10 of your best clients from your client portfolio that align with your target client profile. Now, in another masterclass, I talked about the difference between an ideal client profile and a target client profile. And if you don't have that tool, guess what? I told you, don't leave empty-handed. We've got that for you. Rebecca, where can they get the target client profile tool?
So it should be in the same spot as the 16-day outbound prospecting rhythm. It should be right below in related content or related resources. There's a list and you should be able to click on it and it should pop up into a separate window where you can start to download it from there or utilize it right there.
Perfect.
And it will also
you.
be in our email follow-up with the recording of the session. So.
Excellent. Excellent. So when I say your 10 best clients, I don't mean your biggest clients necessarily. I mean that if you could stick these clients in a copier as a way to grow the business, you do it in a heartbeat. That's what I mean by your 10 best clients. And you're going to reach out to each one of them and have a conversation, not a text, not sending an email. This is an actual conversation that you're going to have, whether it be on the phone, Zoom, or in person. And the conversation sounds like this. Rebecca, you've been working with us for a number of years, so you're familiar with what we offer and the quality of what we offer. Now, here's the big ask. Write this down. If you were me, what associations would you be active in? What conferences would you attend? What events would you go to? What would you be reading to meet more people like you? Sales is an open book test, and we make it so much harder than it needs to be. See, during this conversation, by the way, you're not going to cross-sell. You're not going to upsell. You're not going to ask them to be a reference. The sole thing that we're going to do is ask them to place our hat on their head and provide us with their counsel. That's it. And the cues in the question, they're there to help them think about their recommendations. And here's what you're going to find. People are fundamentally gracious. They want to help. That's human nature. But there's been several studies that have been done that shows unless people are asked for help, they don't do it. So if you're not asking, you're not getting. So the point at the end of the question, by the way, to meet more people like you, strokes their ego. It further invites them to respond and help you. So what you do is you have these 10 conversations, and I like to get these done in a short period, like 2 weeks. You document the findings and put together action plans based on what you've learned to pursue these new approaches. So Rebecca, I'm going to share a couple of success stories if that's okay.
Yes, please. I think that'll be super helpful.
Perfect. So I gave this assignment to a consulting client. Have 10 conversations in 2 weeks. And then we're going to have a debrief session. And just before the debrief session, I get an email from the sales manager, subject line, apology. And in the email, it says, hey, Lee, we got really busy over the last couple of weeks. We only had 4 of these conversations, so we should probably reschedule. But I attached our findings. I opened the document. 4 pages of notes from 4 conversations. There's no need for an apology. That's pure gold. Give you another story. Coaching client. This is just one person now. Tasked this person with having 10 conversations in 2 weeks. He got 7 done. In one of those conversations, he found out about a technology council in his own backyard, didn't even know existed. And the members were CIOs that he was trying to reach through prospecting and had been unsuccessful. And his client says to him, I could bring you as my guest if you'd like. Yeah, I'll be there. Now, here's the best part. A few months ago, he was given the opportunity to present at this technology council, an organization that prior to the "if you were me" conversation, he didn't know existed. Now, a little side story with him. So the CEO of the company had contracted with me for this coaching for him. And the CEO didn't know about the "if you were me" strategy. And he went on a ride along with this sales rep. And during an in-person meeting with the CEO sitting right here, he posed the "if you were me" question. And that night I get an email from the CEO. And he says, "Lee, it feels like this is the question I've been missing for the last 15 years of my life. Thank you. Watched it in action today, nearly cried, spectacular. And if you don't believe me, send me an email and I'll send you a copy of what he sent to me." That's it, verbatim. Folks, what am I asking you to spend to put that strategy in practice? Nothing. Nothing. Not a dime. I'm not saying contract with Lee. You can do this on your own based on what we've just talked about. If you really need more background, it's in Sell Different, but I've just told you the recipe. But this can be a difference maker to help you creatively reach elusive prospects.
Okay, so let's talk about referrals, because I think that's something we haven't covered in here. Where do referrals fit in an overall prospecting strategy, or do they not?
Yeah, no, they're an important part. Have I ever told you about Marie and Tony?
I don't think so.
Well, then let me tell you about them. So during the .com boom, I built the sales force for a technology training company in the DC metro area. And we had 3 sales teams: corporate, federal, and career changer. Career changers were individuals who said, "Hey, I want to get a job in IT." So for that sales team, what we would do is advertise every Sunday on the front page of the employment section of the Washington Post. And that led to the phone ringing off the hook on Monday morning. Now, based on where the ad appeared, determined lead flow for the week. So if the ad was above the fold, great week of leads. If it was below the fold, lead flow dropped by 50%. Then there were some weeks where the Washington Post was using the front page for something else, didn't allow ads on it. We dropped to page 3, and we get about 10% of the leads. And I got to tell you, Rebecca, I would dread coming into work Monday morning when the ads were not on the front page above the fold, or, gosh, on page 3. See, because there'd be a line of salespeople outside my office ready with a litany of excuses for their expected performance of the week given the ad. But not all the salespeople were there. Marie and Tony were never outside my office complaining about ad placement and leads. See, after they had been on the team for 6 months, they had built their business entirely on referrals. They were completely self-sufficient, which should be every salesperson's goal, to be self-sufficient. They saw the company-generated leads as gravy. The referrals, that was the meat. That means they controlled their success. And we all know that referral leads convert at a higher rate and faster. Why? Trust. When going through a buying process, decision influencers need to validate the claims that we make. Well, validation's a lot easier when they're referred by a trusted source like a friend, family member, or a colleague. But here's the bigger picture around the goal of self-sufficiency. Even if you're with a company that doesn't generate leads for you, traditional cold calling's tough. You all know that. Why would we want to do it any more than we have to? So once you've built a critical mass of accounts, the key is to leverage those relationships into future deals. So we talked about the "if you were me" strategy as one of those. Another is acquiring referral leads from them. So we need to squeeze the juice out of every relationship that we have. We don't just sell a piece of business and move on. We got to squeeze all the juice out of that relationship.
Okay, so how can salespeople get more referrals? What would be your recommendation?
Well, that's an obvious question, isn't it? So the first step is to understand that there are 2 types of referrals. There's passive and there's active. So passive referral leads are generated without any effort from the salesperson. It means company's got a good product and you've got satisfied clients who are saying, "Hey, this is really good," and they tell their friends and you get a phone call. Active referral leads are generated by both the company and salesperson initiatives. So an active referral campaign means that we are soliciting this lead type. And not enough salespeople do it. When I ask salespeople about referral leads that they get, most of them tell me stories about passive ones. Yeah, this guy loved the product, and then He told his buddy called in, and then we sold him. But here's the thing, the old expression rings true. If you don't ask, you're not getting. IDC, global marketing firm, they found that 73% of executives said that they prefer to work with salespeople referred by someone that they know. 73% said that. Active referral lead generation is not a nice to have. It's a must have. We have to do it. But let's take it a step further. Let's talk about how we ask for referrals. Ready for this, Rebecca?
I'm ready.
All right. 2 classrooms side by side. 2 teachers teaching the exact same lesson equally proficiently. The first teacher finishes the lesson, looks out at her students and says, "Any questions?" Not one student raises their hand. Teacher in the second classroom taught the lesson equally as well, finishes at the same time as the other teacher, looks out at her students and asks, "What questions can I answer for you?" and spends the next 30 minutes fielding questions from her students. Well, this story parallels the way too many of us ask for referrals. They have some variation of, "Do you know of anyone who'd be interested in what we offer?" What do we always hear? "I can't think of anyone, but I'll call you if I do." Folks, that call ain't coming. So here's a referral request strategy that works. We're going to make a subtle shift in how we ask for referrals. And this shift is going to change the number of active referral leads that you get. Ready? Write this down. Given what you know about what we do, who do you know who would also be interested in what we offer? Let me give you that again. Given what you know about what we do, who do you know who would also be interested in what we offer? Who do you know implies they know someone, even multiple people, who would be interested in what you sell. It's illogical to answer that with a yes/no response based on how it's phrased. Try it. You're going to be amazed by the impact that a little shift in how you ask referrals improves your active lead flow. Again, it's about moving the sales needle. Nothing's going to work 100% of the time. But if I can get you a 5%, 10% incremental improvement from that, isn't that a huge win? Take all these techniques that we've talked about. It's about incremental gains.
All right. Well, you've covered a lot of great stuff today. A lot of good information, advice, handouts, a lot. Do you mind?
I think I'm ready for a nap.
I was going to say, this probably takes a lot out of you, but I love it. We've got a lot of people that are asking questions, but I'd love, before we get into that, if you didn't mind just summing up what we covered today.
Certainly. Well, we started off by talking about our toughest competitor, which is all the salespeople trying to reach the same person you are to get a meeting. And then once we had that clarity, we recognized that every aspect of business development needs a strategic approach. We talked about the sales crime theory strategy for our qualitative outreach. We talked about the importance of strategy for the quantitative part when we talked about the 16-day prospecting rhythm. We talked about the use of voicemail. We're not getting a call back. We're going to use it to spark intrigue. We talked about that word unknowingly and using that as a way to spark conversation. We talked about the if you were me strategy as another way to reach elusive prospects and leveraging the client relationships that you have. And we finished by talking about ways to receive more active leads, again, helping you reach elusive prospects. But like I said a couple of times, no strategy works 100%. But if you take everything we've talked about, makes you 10% more effective, how big of a win for you? It's huge. And everything I've shared in this masterclass you can find in Sales Differentiation and Sell Different. So, Rebecca, should we open the floor to questions?
Oh, we have. There are a lot.
We have a few?
We have quite a lot. Over 100 people have submitted questions, so this is going to be a busy one. So everyone, please bear with us. We're going to try to get to every single question we can. We do have 15-ish minutes to do that, so we do have time. Right. But if for whatever reason we're unable to answer any of these questions, we will definitely make sure Lee can follow up. We're going to pick from questions that are a little bit more generic, a little bit more broad, so
Rebecca,
that everyone can get a little bit.
Asked, I'm just thumbing through the questions here. A few people have asked what I mean by traditional prospecting. And I'm not being fancy with that. I mean like making a phone call or stopping in or sending an email. That's what I mean when I refer to traditional prospecting.
Awesome. I'd love it if you could repeat.
Nothing sexy there.
I would love it if you could repeat the given what you know, what we do, the referral question, if you don't mind. There's a lot of people asking for that
Are you
repeated.
talking about the if you were me?
The referral question, asking for a referral.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Given what you know about what we do, who do you know who would also be interested in what we offer? Let me give you that one more time. Given what you know about what we do, who do you know who would also be interested in what we offer?
Awesome. And for those of you, we do have questions. That's just a one-to-one Q&A doc. It's not a chat situation, so you all can't see them, but we do have them. All right, there was a bunch of questions. Unless you see something that you are interested in, Lee, I can pick something. I've got some that have been marked off.
I'll tell you what, why don't you ask me, someone's asking if there's a replay. Yes, everyone that registered will get a link to the recording, so you'll have that.
Yes.
Okay.
I got one here ready for you if you'd like.
Yeah, there's one here from Katrina about offering an incentive to current clients for referrals. And she's got a meeting in 16 minutes, so she can't be on that much longer. So let me get to this one.
Perfect.
In some industries, it's acceptable to have an incentive for referrals, and some it's not. Then in some companies, there is a prohibition saying you can't receive something personally. So where it's okay to do it, in industries where it's an accepted practice, yes, I believe that it's a wonderful way to drive active referral leads. However, they have to do something to get something. So if I'm going to put any type of incentive there, it means that they're facilitating an introduction. If you just give me a name and an email address or a name and a phone number, I can get that on my own. You don't get anything for that. But if you introduce me to this person, now that works. Coming back to those where the individual can accept any type of an incentive, a strategy that has worked several times that I put into practice is you offer to make a donation to the corporate charity. So whatever you're going to give that individual, find out what the corporate charity is, make sure it's nothing controversial. Let's say it's like the American Heart Association or cancer, something like that, that whatever you were going to give the individual, you would be making a donation to their corporate charity. The nice thing is if you talk to your accounting people, there's probably a tax incentive for your company as well when you do that.
Awesome. Real quick one here. They're asking about the books behind you, and I just would love if you wouldn't mind. They were trying to see what the orange book is, and we used to have that as our slide that everybody can see right now. But
well, I have a couple on my desk. So here's sales. I hate making this commercial, but sales differentiation talks about differentiating what you sell and how you sell. And then sell different, that's where you'll find the prospecting rhythm. Sales crime theory is in sales differentiation. Prospecting rhythm is in sell different. And it's available in print, Kindle, and audiobook.
Awesome. Question here. Do you pause between any of the days in the prospecting sequence or rhythm, or are you doing each step every day, 16 working days straight?
Well, you'll see there are days where you do nothing. It's built into the 16. There are days where you have no contact. There are days where you reach out by phone, and if you don't get them, you don't leave a message. So yeah, that's built into the 16 days.
Let's see. That one's pretty straightforward. This is interesting. I don't know which way you'd take. I know probably which way you'd take it, but should a personalized email only happen once in your outreach cadence / sequence? Should it always be email one?
So my first attempt is always going to be personalized. I'm not going to keep sending the same email. And that happens to me. I'm sure that happens to a lot of you too, where you send the initial email and it's personalized. And then you get the second one and all it says is just making sure you saw this. No. The first one didn't work. So you need to put some additional personalized content in the second one to build off of it. But just saying, hey, moving this to the top of your inbox, that was one I saw this morning. I don't need this moved to the top of my inbox. Put some valuable information in there. Maybe put some unknowingly in there. That might get me to pay attention.
I like that. A couple of people are asking about meeting invites, and I've had this happen to me before where someone's been trying to get a hold of me via email to sell me something. And all of a sudden a meeting invite is put on my calendar and I haven't, it wasn't planned, whether it's available for me or not. But some people are asking like about that scenario, your thoughts on just tossing out meeting invites to people, as well as if you do that, or if you don't do that, you schedule something and someone hasn't shown up. How do you get people to attend those?
So I will tell you, there are people that will get irritated with your prospecting outreach. That's okay, because right now we got nothing. So there are people that will say, stop contacting me. That's okay. That we have some engagement there. Now, if you were effective on the qualitative side, hopefully that will be a minimal instance, that you have a nice outreach that gets them interested. It was interesting. I had someone reach out to me last week, and she started off by saying, hey, I read your book, absolutely loved it, on and on and on. And then she started engaging with me in some conversation. This is using email in LinkedIn. And then she said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that video you just posted, and I'm going to share that with my network on LinkedIn. They're pretty active. And she did, and she tagged me in it. And there were something like 5,000 people that viewed it and 100 that commented on it. And then from there, she said, by the way, here's what I do if you'd like to have a conversation. Right? If you think about what she did, she reached out in a positive fashion. She demonstrated some value before asking anything of me. How many of you are doing that in your outreach? Right? A lot of times the outreach comes across as, gimme, 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 gimme. Well, let's give first. If we give first, people will be much more interested in the conversation with us. So maybe you have an article, an ebook, some piece of information that will help them in their role. Give first, and then you can ask.
Love that. A couple of folks are asking some of the same question here. How do you manage the time commitment to do the crime theory research, as well as scale the outreach enough for the people to make it worthwhile? They're talking about using some sales tools like Engage from ZoomInfo, SalesLoft, other things that help to automate those cadences. But just trying to understand how much time commitment you should be giving to that research.
Yeah, and so I'll be a little controversial. And for the sales leaders there that say sales is a numbers game, I only partially agree with you. Because if we look at, well, you got to have 200 dials a day. I would trade that 200 dials for 30 well-planned outbound reaches, outbound attempts. I want there to be reaches where there's a reason to reach out with them. We know why they should want to talk with me, as opposed to let's just keep making calls and hoping for the best. So I'm going to dedicate enough research so that there is reason for my outreach now, that I have the material I need to build the engagement so that they want to have a conversation with me right now. I can't put it in terms of minutes or hours that you should put towards it, but overarching, I'm saying you're not making a phone call, you're not sending an email unless you can answer that question. Why should they want to have a conversation with me right now?
All right, I'm going to do, since you did a little TV show commercial, I'm going to do a little one as well, because there are people asking this question, asking about a lead generating platform. What's your favorite? So if you can answer however you like, but I'm going to pitch ZoomInfo because that's where I work, and that's.
No, I would give the same answer, but that's fine.
Okay. I appreciate that. But yes, ZoomInfo can help you find job titles of people, contact level information, account level information. They can tell you about the org chart. So if there's someone that you're not able to get in connection with at that organization, there's others that we can suggest you contacting and reaching out to. We have direct phone numbers, mobile phone numbers, as well as personal and business email addresses, not just the info at. And then there's also, we have intent or sales intelligence data in there as well to tell you that if you're interested in these type of titles, in this type of industry, a variety of other criteria filters, Here are some others that are lookalikes that might be somebody that you would want to reach out to in a new account that you haven't considered. So I would definitely check out ZoomInfo. We've got a 14-day free trial where you can go in there, play around with it, build out audiences, search for people that you're currently trying to get a hold of, see if you can get a better connection with them. So check it out. That's all I'll do for today, and I won't take up another minute of that. Okay.
There was a question here around video, on my thoughts about embedding video. There are technology companies out there that allow you to put video in email. I would research it because, man, spam filters are getting so tough to get through. If you're going to do it, video is great. I mean, it's interesting. In 2007, when I started doing this, the rule was articles had to be a minimum of 1,200 words. Well, today no one's reading 1,200 words. As a matter of fact, no one wants to read anything. They want video. Other than writing my new book, I haven't written anything in the last 18 months. All I've been doing is creating video because that's what people want. But if you're going to do a video, make sure it's going to reach their inbox, and it's got to be short and to the point, and make sure that you're really comfortable with the camera. If you're talking like this to them in the video, forget it. So you've got to be looking right into that lens so it looks like we're having a conversation together.
I love that.
Someone also asked, I saw about, they said personalizing the email makes it long. It can't be long. No one's going to read it. It's got to be short, to the point, and you just have to go back and edit it. You know, when they make a movie, you know, a 90-minute movie has something like 10, 12, maybe even 20 hours of tape. You just got to put the best parts in there. You got to remember, you're not trying to sell them on buying your product. The only thing you're trying to accomplish with that email is to get them to agree to have a conversation with you. Nothing more, nothing less.
Let's see. And for those of you that have hopped on late, we are recording this. This will be sent out via email to anybody that has registered. So you've registered by being here. If you're here, you will get an email from us with the recording, as well as, and you can share that with your colleagues, as well as the handouts that we shared today. You should be able to click to download those as well. Let's see.
And by the way, I invite all of you, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm constantly putting content on there on everything you can imagine within the sales process, and especially in prospecting. As a matter of fact, I've got a video coming out in a couple of weeks around the word unknowingly that we talked about today. So feel free to drop an invite on LinkedIn, but I'm on all the social media platforms, YouTube, TikTok, all the goodies.
Let's see.
Someone asked about cell phones.
Yep.
What are my thoughts on cell phones? And I'm going to give you a response that is strictly my own experience, and maybe you feel the same way. Unless I know you, you better not be calling my cell phone. And you better not be texting me if I don't know who you are from a prospecting perspective. That's my own bias. You may feel differently. To me, a cell phone is personal, right? If you think about a cell phone, it's always in her pocket. You know, I used to kid that my daughter, I thought it was surgically attached because she'd always be walking around like this with it in her hand. Now they say it about me. But I'm not a fan of reaching out to cell phones unless we've had some engagement. So if it's an existing client of mine, sure, we have a relationship. But as a first interaction, I'm not a fan.
Definitely.
What about you, Rebecca? Would you want someone reaching out to your cell phone?
No, I would not. I've even had some people that I've worked with in the past, and they've reached out to me, you know, saying that they're at a different company and, you know, they are a vendor looking for us to purchase whatever they're selling at that point in time. And I did get a lot of emails from them. I did get a couple of work voicemails, but I don't also have a work number that people can call.
Okay.
So that's also
a different story.
Right. That's also a different story. So like if my only form of phone number for anybody to call is my cell phone, and that is in ZoomInfo. And you can go in there and take that out if you don't want it in there. And I haven't taken it out because it is my only phone number. ZoomInfo does give me a work number, but I don't use it. I don't check it, none of that kind of thing. So the only way to get me is via email, really. Or LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a big one where I've been seeing a lot of people reach out to me via LinkedIn about X, Y, and Z selling me something. And sometimes it's of interest and sometimes it's not, but I don't have a lot of messages that come through LinkedIn. So it's a little bit less busy of an inbox in a sense. But okay, we are at time. So I am going to, it did, it really did. Lots of great questions in here, everybody. There are some very specific ones that we didn't get to. We will share those with Lee, and if he has a moment, he will reach out and let you respond to your email. Again, the recording will be sent out within 24, 48 hours after today. So check out your inbox for that. They'll have the resources in there as well. We've got more sessions coming up this year, as well as we're going to be creating a whole new series for next year in the coming months. So definitely keep an eye on either Lee's LinkedIn or his email subscription or ZoomInfo and check out what we've got coming up. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Lee, especially for being here for another wonderful masterclass.
That was great fun.